Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have SES AI Corporation. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol SES. It is a global leader in development and production of high-performance lithium metal rechargeable batteries for EVs and other applications. Please welcome the CFO, Jing Nealis. Nice to see you, Jing.
Hi, Anna. Nice to see you.
All right, the floor is yours. Call me back when you're ready for questions.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jing Nealis, CFO of SES AI Corporation. Today, I wanted to kind of go through the SES technology, the OEMs we're working with, and I'm happy to take any questions later on. So SES is the world leader in next generation lithium metal batteries. Our lithium metal battery combines the high energy density of lithium metal with large-scale manufacturing ability of the conventional lithium-ion batteries. I'll get into that in a little bit later. We are the most advanced in the industry as far as commercializing lithium metal battery. We have A-sample joint development agreement with 3 OEMs, GM, Hyundai, and Honda. And another differentiator for us is our Avatar AI system, which is like a digital twin equivalent of physical lithium metal cells that integrates comprehensive manufacturing data and real-world battery data to predict performance and cell longevity under a variety of conditions. We are well-funded to commercialization with $357 million of cash as of June 30th, 2023. Quickly, looking at the history of battery development from lead acid to today's lithium ion, lithium metal is the future. It is the winning technology that provides the next significant step change on energy density comparing to what we use today in all of our EVs. SES lithium metal battery technology is designed to deliver a step change in energy density up to 400 watt per kg and 1,000 watt per liter. These are, by the way, actual measurements, not simulated numbers. What this means is that our battery is denser and lighter. It can significantly increase the range of the EVs. In addition to solving customers' range anxiety, our lithium metal battery has fast charge capability from 10% state of charge to 80% in under 15 minutes. Because our manufacturing process is very similar to lithium ion, we can have a practical commercialization roadmap leveraging the existing infrastructure and processes. This is evidenced by 3 global automakers that are backing us, including GM, Hyundai, and Honda. In addition to the 3 OEMs that we're working with, we are also backed by global strategic investors, including SK, LG, Applied Materials, Tianqi Lithium, and Temasek. We have a pretty deep bench of management team with decades of battery development experiences. Many of our team members are from lithium-ion battery companies or auto OEMs and have hands-on experience scaling up a new technology. We are headquartered in Boston. Our founder and CEO, Dr. Hu, founded the company about 11 years ago out of MIT's basement lab. Our core chemistry, material development, algorithm R&D, deep learning are done in our Boston facility, which are expanding right now. And then also we have pilot manufacturing facilities in Shanghai and South Korea. With deep roots in the US and a global footprint, we are uniquely positioned to commercialize our battery technology faster than our peers. Now let's take a look at the technology. On the left-hand side is the conventional lithium-ion battery we use today in our EVs. It is highly manufacturable. As we know, there are multi-gigawatt hours of capacities being built today, but is hitting the ceilings to deliver much higher energy density. But in the middle and the right are lithium metal batteries that are, there are different approaches to make lithium metal work. You probably heard the word solid state or liquid. Solid state lithium metal looks promising on paper, but not proven to be manufacturable at scale. Our approach at SES to lithium metal is more practical. It can deliver the energy density and manufacturability. Both are very important to our customers, the global OEMs, for them to put a new chemistry in their next generation EVs. Here is our lithium metal battery in a simplified way to explain. Basically, we are replacing the graphite anode in lithium ion batteries with our wide format, ultra thin lithium metal anode. Lithium is the lightest metal on the periodic table. So, the other unique technology to us is our electrolyte. Our solvent and salt liquid electrolyte is not volatile and self-extinguishing. I'll touch on this in a bit more in the next slides. Cathode and separators are mostly off the shelf. We can use LFP cathode for economic cars or high nickel cathode for premium cars. The OEMs typically decide what cathode to use for whatever cars they plan to put on the market. Our electrolyte composition is unique to us. It is the key to make lithium metal work. Our electrolyte uses a high concentration solvent and salt approach. Comparing to the conventional lithium ion liquid electrolyte, which is more like a cup of solvent with some salt in it. Our electrolyte is a cup of salt with a few drops of solvent. The solvent is coordinated with by the salt, and there are no free solvent molecules. And the solvent molecules are non-volatile and non-flammable, which makes lithium metal safe. This is critical to commercialize lithium metal as a technology, as a battery technology. Some of you probably heard one of the issues for lithium metal is dendrites, which is the tree-like pointing structure you see on the left. When they grow, they could poke through the separator and short the cell, which cause safety issues. With our electrolyte, it changes the way dendrites grow. It is not dendrites anymore. It's more on the right, a mossy lithium structure, which is hilly and smooth. So that kind of solves the safety issue for lithium metal. There's no more dendrites with our electrolyte. As I mentioned earlier, we compare our anode with LFP or high nickel cathode. Basically, if you kind of see on the chart, pairing lithium metal anode with LFP cathode would deliver the same energy density as today's premium cars with high nickel cathode, which is more expensive. And then SES's lithium metal anode paired with high nickel cathode will potentially deliver a whole new premium vehicle class with much higher density that no EVs today have. We have, as I mentioned, 3 A-sample JDAs with GM, Hyundai, and Honda. These 3 OEMs are also our shareholders. Each of them has invested around $100 million in SES and continue to support us. We not only work with their R&D team, we also work with the manufacturing and quality team. They are working with us on a daily basis, often have people stationed in our facility to help us scale. So with all of that, you can kind of see the level of support we're getting from the OEMs. It's not just being a shareholder, but also being a customer and partner to help us scale our technology to commercialization. I'll touch on the ABC sample. So for any new battery technology to be in the car with any OEM, they all have a process pre-A, A, B, C sample to go through. In the pre-A stage, it is to prove the technology works with a smaller cell made in the lab. And then A sample is to make the cell in real life form factor for the specific cars the OEM has in mind. they will give us their specifications. For example, GM has the Ultium platform today for all of their EVs. They use the same platform for all of their EVs, currently using LG battery. We are working with GM team to design the lithium metal battery going into Ultium 2.0 for their next generation vehicles. So that's a sample, is to make the cell in a much larger form factor and then meet the specifications by the OEMs. So our A sample cell, we first made it back in late 2021. It's a 100 amp hour cell comparing to the pre-A cell that's 4 amp hour. It's a different size and form factor, thickness, and everything. And B sample is to prove manufacturability with speed and quality control. Can you manufacture it? Can you manufacture it fast enough with higher yield and quality and cost with the same performance, right? And then C sample is to produce thousands of cells for the OEMs to test in the actual cars in different environments and drive it around, and test everything in the car from windshield wiper to the tires to the battery pack and the battery system and everything. So, but typically A sample is the hardest. Typically, it could take 2 to 3 years. It's the longest among all the sampling stages. We've been in pre-A sample with GM since 2015. We entered into A sample with A sample JDAs with our OEM customers in 2021. Our goal is to transition into B sample with at least one of the OEMs by the end of this year and commercialize our technology by mid-decade. As I mentioned, we have pilot facilities in Shanghai and South Korea. So Shanghai, we have line 1, and we're building line 4 and line 5. We use line 1 currently with one of our OEM partners, and line 4 is designed to for one of our OEM partners for B sample stage. So the main difference between line 4 and line 1 for EV cells is that the line 4 is much more automated. It's the newer generation of equipment with our design. It's going to be, we are going to use that for B sample, right, to prove manufacturability and quality. It has more quality control points in the line, and then also have our avatar sensors and everything implemented in the design of line 4. So it's a much more advanced line. We mentioned this before in our earnings. For a battery company to be at large scale, there has to be a systematic quality control system. Like CATL has over 3,000 quality control points throughout their line. We started a couple years ago with only 300. Now we're up to 1,400 quality checkpoints throughout our line. So line 4 will be a lot more advanced. And line 5 in Shanghai is designed to make UAM cells with one of our OEMs that we're working with. Also, we have a pilot facility in South Korea. Line 2 and line 3 we use currently for 2 other OEMs we work with. So of the 3 OEMs, 1 is done in Shanghai as far as manufacturing pilot lines, and 2 done out of Korea currently. Just touch on the avatar system a bit. As I mentioned that we have the AI in our name for a reason. We've been working on the avatar system since 5 years ago. It is really out of a necessity that for the future EVs on the road, there are going to be a lot more EVs on the road in the future. Predict and know the battery health is not going to be part per million like today, right? We need to know, and the OEMs wanted to know which cell in which module in which car has potential issues and the quality of the cell and the performance of the cell at the cell level. So our avatar is really designed to gather the cell material data, manufacturing data, and real life usage data to and then have the algorithm to predict the health and the overall performance of the cell. It adds a lot of value to the OEMs as far as knowing where the cells are at, because battery cells is like a person. When you were born, right, everybody is similar, but then but your health dependent on your DNA and how your mom is, the nutrition of the mom during pregnancy, and then more importantly, how we grow up, our lifestyles. Cells are very similar. So depending on where the cells are used and what weather, the driving habit of each customer, the end life of the cell is very different. And then the recycling value could be different as well. So our avatar would be able to kind of monitoring that and predict that in real life. So that's the AI piece of our company. Milestones, as I mentioned, the key milestone for this year is to start transitioning into B sample. As part of that, we are working with our OEMs to establish a more robust cell engineering and manufacturing quality platform. This will allow us to successfully transition into B sample and prove the manufacturing ability of our technology, and also improve the avatar safety prediction algorithm along the way. We have sufficient funding to commercialization with our current cash burn. I think I mentioned during our last earnings call that we're trending toward the lower end of our cash consumption this year. With that, I will stop here and take questions. Thank you.
Great job, Jing. Okay, let's jump in. I'm curious, talk about the core of SES. What is most proprietary to the company?
So the most core to us is the electrolyte and the anode. As I mentioned earlier, the electrolyte is really the core technology to enable lithium metal to work. It solves the dendrite issue. It's a unique design to us. And then the lithium metal anode is also core to us, which is the key technology to provide a higher energy density, right? So two of those are the most important as far as technology for us.
And can you explain to me why lye metal and why liquid versus solid?
So there are a lot of confusions in the market, liquid, solid, lithium metal. So basically there is lithium ion and lithium metal, which is referring to the anode. And the solid versus liquid is really referring to the electrolyte. But electrolyte itself does not provide the energy density step change, right? That's what we need for next generation battery. So when people referring to solid versus liquid, it's really saying the electrolyte. But that's the interface. That's what moves the ion back and forth between the anode and cathode. So as far as next generation technology goes, if you ask any OEM, right, that's lithium metal anode technology. And whether you get there by using a solid state approach or a liquid or semi-liquid approach, that's a approach to get there. And solid state, as I said, is more promising on paper, but it's really hard to manufacture at scale. That's why we have used the more of a hybrid approach which is a liquid electrolyte, but it's not the same as the traditional liquid electrolyte.
Thank you for clarifying that. Can you also tell me some of the benefits of Asian manufacturing footprint?
Yeah, so we decided to set up our Shanghai facility back in 2018, a while ago. Really, it was to really to sort of leverage the ecosystem in Asia, and then we set up South Korea facility in 2021. The goal is really to commercialize our technology fast, right? Speed is important. In order to do that, leveraging the ecosystem in Asia to have the pilot lines and start making the cells and tweaking the equipment design and the engineering of the cells, while the core fundamental science and R&D and material development are still done in Boston. It allows us to commercialize much faster than our peers, to have the Asian footprint and closer to some of the suppliers and move much faster. But the goal is to go into B sample, and then once we go into the C sample and scale manufacturing stage, we'll be setting up manufacturers in the US, because that's where our OEMs major market is, and that's where they wanted to make their EVs, and the batteries should be made closer to the EVs.
And let's talk a little bit more about the OEMs. Aside from GM, Honda, and Hyundai, what other OEMs are in the pipeline? And a question from Sydney Rodriguez. In turn, is there any exclusivity to these companies with your products? And if you can explain your relationship with them.
Yeah, so we work with other OEMs. We only announced GM, Hyundai, and Honda. They are the three that we've entered into A-sample JDAs with, but we do work with other OEMs that we have not announced. First of all, there's no exclusivity with any of the OEMs, so that is clear. And second of all, for us, really, it's not about having more A-samples with more OEMs. Is to focus on the three that we have and moving forward to B sample. Once we get into B sample, we could have more B sample JDAs with more OEMs. It's a lot more meaningful to move ahead into B sample stage than getting more A samples with other OEMs. But we do have a pipeline of our other OEMs who have been testing our cells. We've been working closely as well. But right now, with our limited resources, we wanted to focus on driving the A samples that we already have to the next stage.
A question from Val Hoover. What's the performance difference between your batteries and what's currently used? Talk about your competitors and what makes you stand out.
So the current lithium ion batteries, depending on the cathode, right, LFP or high nickel cathode, the driving range is the main, really translate to what means to the customers is the driving range per charge. Today, we could drive maybe 280, 300 miles in the good weather. With our lithium metal battery technology, potentially we could drive up to 500 miles per charge, which can ease a lot of the driving range anxieties for the end consumers. So that's really the main benefit. But in addition to that, of course, the cell has to be safe, cost effective, and also our cells is much lighter. It's like half the weight comparing to the lithium ion batteries today, which is another benefit the OEM sees, to have a much lighter car. Much lighter battery would allow them to design the cars in a much better way. So those are really the key incentives for OEMs to commercialize lithium metal battery technology.
Perfect. I have a couple questions from Timothy Johnson. I'll break them up. So Timothy says, SES is entering into B sampling testing with OEMs. So does SES have formal JDAs in place to receive and test these samples in both EVs and EV tolls? And if so, which OEMs?
So to clarify, our goal is to transition into B sample with at least one of our OEMs this year. We have not gotten there yet. We're working really hard on that and confident that we will get there. So currently we have 3 A samples with our 3 OEMs. And so as part of the A sample, and then B sample is similar, we make the cells based on the specifications provided by the OEMs. They actually help us also design the equipment and then kind of look into the cell design and everything. And then we test our cells independently and we send it to the OEM to test. It's a very teamwork coordinated way. We work with them daily. They are often stationed in our factory to kind of work with us. So they are very involved in the process on testing the cells on their own, also in our facilities as well. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, that's great. Timothy also wants to know if you can update us on your developments on the lithium metal anodes. He says this seems to be the most challenging scaling aspect of SES's technology. So are you doing it all in-house or working with other companies? If so, can you share what other companies?
Yeah, so we're doing both. We are working with suppliers. Also, we are bringing some of these capabilities in-house. I can't share the names of the suppliers that we're working with, but I would say that it's correct that scaling the lithium metal anode capability is key to our manufacturing ability. It's a process to go through. We are bringing some of those in-house to design the equipment to make the wide format lithium metal foil. But at the same time, we are working with our suppliers also to kind of scale and also have a more efficient way to make the thin lithium foil.
Thank you for that answer. I've got a couple questions from Kelly Radcliffe. Kelly wants to know if you can provide your strategic outlook for non-EV batteries, what markets and timing, and do you have any strategic partnerships now or seeking them?
Yeah, so we announced during our last earnings call that we are working with one of our OEM partners on the UAM, urban air mobility cells. So we are still early stage in that, but we do believe that lithium metal is the best fit as far as UAM eVTOL application because it's much lighter, right? It's half of the weight. So there is a real interest from the OEMs, and they also, all 3 of them actually, especially Honda, they all have UAM business units. So it's a real incentive for them to start testing our batteries for UAM application. Our goal is, so we have line 5 that we are designing and to put in place to make UAM cells, which is slightly different from a specification perspective. It could potentially provide us a earlier commercialization opportunity with our partners.
Can you give us?
I think we're currently just focusing on EVs and UAM market.
Can you give a timeline on when these might come to market?
So the goal is to have line 4 and line 5 ready to use in early 2024. So then we'll start producing the cells to be tested.
And Kelly also wants to know what happened to lines 2 and 3 in Shanghai. What were they used for?
So they are, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is in Shanghai, 2, 3 are in Korea. There's no 2, 3 in Shanghai. So we count our lines globally, right? So 1 in Shanghai, 2 and 3 are in Korea, 4 and 5 in Shanghai. So there's not another 2 and 3 in Shanghai. I think that may be the confusing part. The 2 and 3 in Korea are for our 2 of our OEMs.
Okay.
Sorry, in Korea are for 2 of our OEMs.
Thank you for clarifying. Would you like to talk about your capital needs and outlook in the future?
Sure. Yeah. So we are well funded to go to commercialization, which we define as getting to C sample. Our cash burn this year, depending on the speed of the capex spending, but with building the B sample lines and the facility, I think we're still well funded to go through A, B, C sample to commercialization. So we don't have a need to raise funding anytime soon.
Okay. And any closing remarks for us today, Jing?
Well, thank you everyone to listen in. Appreciate the time. Just keep watching our performance, and I do believe that we are among all next generation battery companies the most advanced as far as commercialization, and then we do have a pretty realistic and practical roadmap to commercialization with our OEMs support, our strategic partners, and sufficient funding. So thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on the conference. We'd love to have you back in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.